Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and we are back. Today, we are going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the third overall pick over on Fantasy Pros. We're going to be doing some more videos throughout the week as well, talking about some fantasy football rankings, but I figured the first video back, we'll just do a mock draft. We'll be able to talk about a bunch of different players in today's video. Now, the NFL schedule actually drops on Wednesday, and while buys do in a small way affect the picks that you do end up making in your fantasy football draft, I don't really think that having the buys is the most important thing. The biggest change with bye weeks would be if you're drafting two different quarterbacks. Obviously, you don't want them to have the same bye. Same thing goes with tight ends. But in terms of drafting running backs and wide receivers, I'm not really going to heavily change my pick based upon who has a bye week win. So if you guys have been wondering where I was and you don't follow me on Twitter or you didn't see the YouTube community post, I ended up getting married a month ago about at this point. So that's where I've been, but it's May and we are back. I'm gonna throw up some pictures on the screen if you guys wanted to see. So this is going to be a 12-team PPR mock draft from the third overall pick. The roster positions are going to be one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. So without further ado, let's get on into things. So coming from the third overall pick, I think is relatively interesting, right? I think the first 4 or 5 picks are going to be very, very similar every single draft. I think it is going to be at the 101. Typically, I wouldn't think it would be Bijan. I would think it's either going to be Jamar Chase or Saquon Barkley. And then 3, 4, 5 is going to be probably Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, CeeDee Lamb. Like all of the guys listed in the top 5 right here, I feel like are kind of unanimously the top 5 picks. Now, again, they might go in a different order every single time, but I do feel relatively confident in that. And I do like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Puka Nacua. I like Jahmyr Gibbs, Malik Neighbors, bdge, Nico Collins, right? All guys ranked inside the top 12, but I do think there's kind of a clear top 5. And then there is a bit of a drop off after that. Now, obviously, you're not kicking yourself if you're at pick number 7 and you go ahead and draft maybe Malik Neighbors, right? You think the new quarterback situation is going to really push him forward, which I would agree with, right? I think that's a perfectly good first round pick, but I think if you do have one of the top 5 picks, you are getting a premier player inside the first round. So Bijan, Jamar Chase, again, you could argue, Nick, it's crazy to take Bijan at the 101, blah, 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 blah. I would take Saquon Barkley. I get it. I mean, I kind of agree with that as well. I definitely would rather have Saquon over Bijan Robinson, but I do definitely think it's possible for Bijan Robinson to have that RB1 season, right? Typically, we see guys that finish as the wide receiver 1, the RB 1, the quarterback 1, the tight end 1. It is very, very difficult for them to repeat as the cream of the crop and to be the number 1 at the top of their position. Now, could they be the running back 3 this year? Of course, or the wide receiver 3, 4, 5, right? I'm not projecting a monster fall off, but I do typically think, hey, if someone finishes as the running back 1 last year, it is really hard to go back to back Michael Jordan, 96, 97. So Bijan and Jamar Chase. Now, this pick is really just heavily going to depend on what position do you feel more comfortable with taking in the first round. Are you someone that needs to escape if you're the third pick? Hey, I need a running back. So if Saquon's taken, I'm taking Bijan. Or are you someone that's more comfortable taking a wide receiver? I think it's kind of really a 50-50 toss-up. I wouldn't be considering quarterback or tight end here. So for this video, we'll take Saquon Barkley. If you wanted to take Justin Jefferson, I think that is perfectly acceptable as well. Now, it's very interesting to me that Jahmyr Gibbs is getting taken as high as he is. Not because I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is like some terrible running back, right? Bottom of the barrel level type of player, but it does kind of concern me in a way because David Montgomery's still there, right? David Montgomery is not leaving, right? Jordan Belfort style. He's not fucking leaving. So I do kind of in a way worry about investing that heavy of draft capital into Jahmyr Gibbs. I still think he's worthy of a first round pick. I just don't know if I'd be, running up to the draft board to slap the sticker down or aggressively clicking my mouse if I saw him at the 105. So after Saquon, we see Justin Jefferson, Jahmyr Gibbs, CeeDee Lamb, Ashton Genty of the Las Vegas Raiders, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Devon Achane, Nico Collins, bdge, Drake London, AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, Rashee Rice, Tyreek Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, in terms of the first and second round, we are seeing it be a little bit more similar to last season, right? People aren't just reverting to prior seasons where the running backs are coming often, they're coming crazy, pause, right? They're just flying off the board. We aren't really seeing that, but that might just be the new standard. People are sucking on the metaphorical teat of the wide receiver position, and rightfully so. So coming back here, we're going to hide the drafted players now. Looking at running back versus wide receivers, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. To while I don't love to just go into the draft thinking, oh, I need to draft 2 workhorse running backs, this, that, or the other thing, right? I need to have this plan. I need to draft a quarterback in the 4th round. I need to draft a tight end in the 5th round. Again, these might be some very elementary Watson type of takes here, right? Some people might just know these things, but in my opinion, take a quarterback this early is a little bit crazy. And just, in my opinion, going to the draft thinking you need a quarterback or this position by this round, I think really put yourself in a box because they'll make you reach. For instance, if you're like, in the 2nd round, I need a wide receiver at the 210. Well, if you're staring down the barrel at T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, it's not like any of those guys are really exciting me, right? I'm not, again, I like T. Higgins, I like Garrett Wilson, but I'm not like, wow, I'm infatuated with these players. I need them, right? Whereas Trey McBride, that could be the tight end 1, right? And the tight end positional advantage, I don't think is as important in a 12-team league compared to a 10 or an 8-team league, but McBride could be that guy that wins you your league because you have the best tight end every single week, right? T. Higgins to me doesn't scream out like that. Garrett Wilson could be with Justin Fields, but right now, I would feel a lot more comfortable waiting into the 3rd round to maybe take my wide receiver. So here, to me, it's either going to be Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, or Trey McBride. In my opinion. Again, if you want to take Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden, Stormy Daniels, go right ahead, but that ain't for me right in the 2nd round. I'm just not, again, super ecstatic to take that. So we're going to go ahead and go, I don't know if I want to go with Saquon and Derrick Henry because you got the quote-unquote old head running backs there, right? You might want to go with Bucky Irving instead, or you could go tight end. I don't want to make this video 8 hours long, though, because it's, the first mock draft of the season. Ain't nobody got time for sitting here for 40 minutes. So we're going to go with Bucky. Bucky had an amazing start to the last season, or just had an amazing start to his career, I guess would be the better way to put it, right? Because it's not like every single game the guy was on top of the world, right? You hit game logs, and I was trying to view 2024, but they'll populate the start of the season, even though the season 2024 already fucking happened, right? Thank you, Fantasy Pros. But, I mean, he had a great season last year. I don't think Rachaad White's going to magically take over the job. I think the Buccaneers are a great offense, and I expect Bucky to put up great numbers again. So I'm definitely fine taking him there. So we went Saquon and Bucky. Again, I'm not going to be someone that is advocating you need to go super running back heavy, right? But I do think that's a fine start, especially in a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, right? When you're talking about 3 wide receivers or 2 flexes is when, to me, it's kind of a little bit more foolish to go double running back. So we went ahead and went with Bucky, followed by Garrett Wilson, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and Trey McBride. I was hoping that Trey McBride would end up falling our way. Kittle is interesting as well. I don't think Kittle would fall back to us in the 4th round, but I think he's normally not going to get picked here, maybe more in the 306 plus range, but it definitely wouldn't be a reach. But at some point, it starts to kind of become a situation where is my wide receiver 1? Right, there are some tight ends that I like later, especially guys like Jonnu Smith. So I think we will end up going with T. Higgins here. Now, T. Higgins is the wide receiver 2 on Cincinnati, right? And it does kind of feel a little bit gross drafting the number 2 receiver on a team inside of the 3rd round, right? But T. Higgins is really, it's like a 1A, 1B scenario. Sure, a majority of the time, Jamar Chase is the 1A, but T. Higgins is really that good. He has that super high upside to be the number 1 wide receiver in any given week. I don't really think the Bengals defense is going to be miles above better than what they were last year, so I think they're going to be throwing the ball a shit ton. This is an offense with one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League in Joe Burrow, so I feel very confident in T. Higgins. Again, it feels a little bit better getting with the 303 compared to at the 2, what was our pick? My brain is not in fantasy football for me at the 210. So after we went with T. Higgins, Josh Allen, Chase Brown, Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, Terry McLaurin, Jaden, Stormy Daniels, TJ Hawkinson, Mike Evans, Magic Mike himself, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, George Kittle-Me-Timbers, James Cook, Kenneth Walker III, Devontae Adams, Joe Shiesty, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, and Alvin Kamara. So interesting to see Jalen Hurts fall as the quarterback 4. Now, again, I don't really think it's that crazy to have Josh Daniels, like the coach, Josh McDaniels, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels ahead of him, but I still like Jalen Hurts, but at this point, it's like you already have Saquon. Why are you taking Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, right? I'd rather just wait till later and take a different quarterback. So we already have our 2 running backs. So the running back position to me is kind of just X'd off. Like, I get it, right? If you have Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, and Bucky Irving, and say Bucky Irving is the running back 5, Saquon's the running back 2, maybe 1, and Joe Mixon's the running back 8, or maybe even higher, you're running away potentially with the championship, right? But if Joe Mixon's more like the running back 13 or 14, it probably would have been more advantageous for us to have drafted a wide receiver in this range that has the upside to really smash. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to end up being one of, if not the most talked about players in the 4th round all summer. There are going to be people that are, you know, hey, what happened last year happened last year. I'm not going to panic too much. I believe in the talent. I believe in the draft capital. I believe Marvin Harrison Jr. was the best wide receiver in the 2024 NFL draft. This, that, and the other thing. And you will buy back into Marvin Harrison Jr. Where there are other people that say, hey, Marvin Harrison Jr. bent me over a table last year. He absolutely ravaged my asshole like some Taco Bell coming out after you ate it at 3 in the morning and had a million beers right before, right? So Marvin Harrison Jr. is a guy that's going to be very controversial. And I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. will bounce back and have a better season. Now, again, based on where I talked up Marvin Harrison Jr. last year and based upon the numbers that he put up, it was bad, right? He was the wide receiver 30. He only had 62 catches, didn't even have 900 yards, but he had 8 touchdowns. But I believe the skill is there. I believe the ability is there, where in the 4th round, I'm willing to take a swing on Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, if he was to go in the 2nd round, I would be, you know, running away like he's got the bubonic plague, like he's got the cheese touch and diary of a wimpy kid. But frankly, because it's in the 4th round, I'm more willing to take the risk, right? If you are just taking the safest pick every single round, you're probably not going to utilize enough upside, realize enough upside to actually win your league. So we're going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. If it's a miss, it's a miss. But again, I think a 22-year-old who, again, like Andrew Erickson saying right here, sure, he didn't meet his expectations, but the upside is going to be there for him. And I do expect a bounce back season. You know, call me stupid, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, can't get fooled again. Hopefully I only got fooled once last year. So after MHJ, we got Jalen Hurts, DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, and Joe Mixon. Last time we talked about DK was in a solo video when he got traded to the Steelers. Now it's a much different situation. Back then we were talking about, oh, how does he fill in this role with him and George Pickens? But now George Pickens, bye-bye, is in Dallas, so I mean, look, I've been a DK Metcalf detractor for years, right? I always kind of give this guy a little bit of the Sukuliming special. I say, hey, this is a guy that's built like a Greek god. This is a guy that runs at crazy speed, but he never seems to put the fantasy numbers up. He is in a loaded room in Seattle where they have JSN, where they had Tyler Lockett in my pocket skirt. And it was like, okay, do I really want to keep investing in this guy when he's consistently inconsistent? And I would say for years, you know what, I'm not willing to pay the piper. I'm not willing to pay the price for DK Metcalf. But this year, you know, in 2025, with it being Metcalf, assuming, now assumptions, they make an ass out of you and me, right? But assuming that it's going to end up being DK Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers, and again, Nick, Aaron Rodgers sucks. Nick, Aaron Rodgers this, Aaron Rodgers this. Aaron Rodgers is better than you think. I'm not going to sit here and, you know, put on the knee pads and give him the Gawk 9000. But what I'm going to tell you is that he's better than you think. And I think DK Metcalf could end up having his best season yet in fantasy football. Devontae Smith, Joe Mixon. So we're back up on the board here. And Chris Olave is another one of those guys that I think is very much going to be controversial as well. Chris Olave has taken you to the cleaners for what feels like the millionth straight season. Now, he always has that upside, right? We know Chris Olave. We watched him in college. We know the upside is there, but Derek Carr basically was just throwing a million-pound weight on this guy and throwing him over the deep end of the Titanic, right? He was sleeping with the fishes like Luca Brasi. We are seeing Derek Carr throw this man hospital passes. We were seeing times where Chris Olave was butt booty naked wide open and the ball would hit him in the fucking face. Like, it would hit his face or like the back of his face or the back of his helmet. It made no sense. The guy was basically going out there with a death sentence. Shout out to the guy from those backyard brawls. Shout out, death sentence. But Chris Olave, I don't know if I can do it, man. I don't know if I could do it. They don't have a quarterback situation that inspires me to want to select him. Now, Courtland Sutton, I've been a Courtland Sutton truther for years. They're working on an extension. Look, Bo Nix, in my opinion, is the real deal. Bo Nix, Big Dick Bo, was slinging it last year. Courtland Sutton had a really solid season. And I think Bo Nix is going to get better. I don't really see, like, if I look at the Denver depth chart, right? If you could just throw it onto the screen right here, as if you could just see it. If you know who's on the team, who's competing with Courtland Sutton, who's going to steal this guy's number one targets on the team. The answer is, drum roll, please, no one. No one is taking Courtland Sutton's target. So I am going Courtland Sutton with supreme confidence, supreme leader Snoke here in the 5th round. Now, by the time things come back here, we might be a little bit kind of screwed at the tight end or quarterback position, but we shall see. We shall see. Sally Seashore, Courtland Sutton, Chuba Hubbard, and again, sorry if I've said a couple of times. This is my first time recording in months, and we're in the new office, so I have no idea what it sounds like. Like, if it sounds a little bit off, it's just a different setup. The background will look nicer in a bit. I got to steam this, and I got to get the WWE belt set up on the wall and stuff. It'll look better, but for now, this is what we've got. So, Courtland Sutton, Chuba Hubbard, Chris Olave, James Conner, Sam Laporta, David Montgomery, Omarion, Chris Breeze, Hampton, Chris Godwin, Travis Hunter, Xavier Worthy. The 6th opens with Patty Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Bo Nix, Jaylen Waddle away, Waddle, till the very next day, bum, Isaiah Pacheco, Khalil, Shakira, Aaron Jones Sr., Janu Smith, and Tet McMillan, new receiver of the Carolina Panthers. Now, the quarterback situation here is barren like the president's son right now. It is not looking great here. We have Kyler, who... Man, Kyler Murray he's another one of those guys that has just carved out a spot in my heart of me loving him, and he just always screws me over. Quarterback 10, 27, 19, 10, 2, 7. The upside's always there with him. I think at this point, to me, it's like, what's really the difference between Kyler and Justin Fields? What's really the difference between Kyler and Brock Purdy? What's really the difference between Kyler and Caleb Williams, right? What's the difference between, like, Dak Prescott's the quarterback 16? He could literally be a top 5 quarterback if he stays healthy. We've seen it before. We've seen the big seasons. Quarterback 3 back in 2023. Don't sleep on Dickie Dak Prescott. So we're back up on the clock here. And this is right around the range where the running backs start to get a little bit more scary. Where it starts to be like, okay, what am I investing in? Do I want to pay the price for that? What is going on? We're also in the tight end range where it starts to get gross as well, where, like, I like Evan Ingram, but do I really want Evan Ingram and Courtland Sutton on the same team? Like, yes, I think Denver's going to be good. Would I want to take the shot on David Njoku, who I think is really talented, but the quarterback situation's iffy. Travis Kelce, like, could he revive what we saw last year? Like, he's returning. He could be better. Like, I think I'd be willing to do that, but at what cost, right? So right now, I think we're going to avoid quarterback, and I think the smart move here would be to go running back. And I think the guy here, again, if this was a 2-flex league, a 3-wide receiver league, I think it would kind of be a no-brainer to go wide receiver and then just kind of see what came back to me at running back with the next pick, right? This guy's got 3 running backs. This guy's got 1, so he could easily take 2. It's always important to look at the draft board. So we're going to go Tony Pollard here. Now, Tony Pollard's a guy that in 2023, I bought in hook, line, and sinker. I was all over Tony Pollard like white on rice. I was all over Tony Pollard like Darrelle Revis up against wide receivers in the 2009 era, right? But Tony Pollard didn't pay off. Frankly, it didn't pay dividends. It screwed you. It screwed the pooch. Last year, I was a lot more pessimistic on him, and he looked better than I thought. Now again, Nick, if you look at the per game stats, he actually wasn't that great. But you got to keep in mind he was on a Tennessee Titans team with Will Levis, with this shit tier quarterback play, with a team that looked dismantled. Now again, I'm not saying that the Tennessee Titans are going to come out here and Tony Pollard's going to be a top 5 running back, right? Because the Titans are going to magically be amazing, right? But what I do believe is that Cam Ward puts a lot more juice into this offense. He is the workhorse starter, like Derek Brown says here. He is the guy. So I'm going to take that shot in the 6th round. Again, it feels a little bit gross. You could have maybe gotten him in the next round. But again, if he's my bench RB3 with the upside of being a flex play weekly, like I think that's a good shot in my opinion. I also like RJ Harvey though. Tony Pollard, Jameson Williams, Travis Kelce, Kyler Murray, RJ Harvey. Now RJ Harvey, I wish I could click on his name and I wish it would tell me what his number is in the NFL because they gave him a number and off the top of my head it's 37. It might not be right, but it's some number where it's like, if your starting running back is number 37, that doesn't like when you see he gets drafted and you see, oh, they gave him number 37, you're like, fuck, right? You're like, in my mind, like a nice running back number is like 24, right? 26, right? Something in the 20s, 26 Le'Veon Bell, right? Or maybe nowadays it's like 7 or 9. It's a lower number, right? 37, 36, whatever number he is, just worries people. But again, if you're worried about what number he is in May, when that could easily be changed, like Malik Neighbors' number changed last year, like I wouldn't worry too much. So we're back up on the clock here. And I think the pick is wide receiver. And I'm going to go George Pickens here. Now, I like Jordan Addison Ray. I want a bad bitch, Jordan Addison Ray. But I think that if Dak Prescott plays, like I think Dak Prescott can, and I'm not some Cowboys lover, right? I got the Dolphins flag behind me. I'm wearing a Miami Dolphins hat right here that looks like it's been through 3 tours in Vietnam, so I need to get a new one. But I think Dak Prescott's severely underrated. And while I think George Pickens is going to be incredibly inconsistent, I think based on the upside alone, I think I got to take him. He's kind of one of those guys where you know what you're getting. You just know what you're getting, right? I fully understand that it could be, we don't know when their bye is, right? It could be week 6 against whoever. George Pickens could score 3 points and I wouldn't be surprised. He could also score 30 fantasy points. I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm going to go George Pickens. I think of Jordan Addison the same way. I want to love Jerry Jeudy. I liked him in Denver, like when he got drafted. And he had this such explosive season with Cleveland, but I just don't know about the quarterback situation enough to be fully enamored with him. But, I mean, he is the wide receiver 1 on his team, whereas Pickens is the number 2. Now, how much does that mean when you're Joe Flacco's number 1 receiver? When you're Shedeur Sanders, perfect timing, number 1 receiver, right? I don't know. But you know what? We're going to go with the more risky pick here. I actually think Pickens is more safe than Jeudy, but we're going to go with Jeudy. We're going to go big booty Jeudy. I talked myself out of the pick. There's another guy here that's about to be up that I love this season that we're going to be talking about. So after we went ahead and drafted big booty Jerry Jeudy, we got Jordan Addison Ray, Jared Goff, the Goffinator, George Pickens, Jacoby Myers, and we're going to get some new nicknames. Don't you guys worry. These are the same nicknames as last season. I know, because we need to think of some new ones for these new guys, right? Like, we need to think of a nice nickname for Judkins, right? We need to think of a nickname for Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, right? So after Jacoby Myers, we see Tyron Tracy, Najee Harris, who I would rather get fucking on my nutsack stapled in than draft Najee Harris in Big 2025. Quinn Sean Judkins, DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze, Caleb Johnson, Tredavion Henderson, Jalen Warren, Calvin Ridley. I don't know why. I sometimes, when I go to look in the camera, like the Office style, right? I sometimes accidentally look at myself, because you guys are right ahead. Then there's a second monitor right here where I'm looking right now, where I can see, to make sure the video is still going. Sometimes I just look myself in the eyes. Just helps me out. Calvin Ridley, B-Rob, Ramondre Stevenson, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings in the 8th round. What a steal. And Tank Bigsby. So we're back up on the clock. And at this point, I think I'm willing to go double Denver because, the 8th round and Evan Ingram is still available. I know Evan Ingram didn't have the greatest year in Jacksonville last year, but I do think Denver will be able to utilize the tight end better. So, to me, in the 8th round, I just kind of have to take him. So after Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, Stephon Diggs, who I really like now. I have been a Stephon Diggs detractor last year in Houston, but who in their right mind is taking the number 1 spot from him this season in New England? Who? No one. No one is. Josh Downs and Javonte Williams. I don't like Javonte Williams really at all. I'm this Dallas backfield to me right now. Now, again, maybe by August, right? It'll change, right? A lot of things will change. Maybe we have a crystal clear path, right? Mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest maiden of them all, right? Maybe it's very obvious. Oh, it's Javonte. That's fine, right? But right now, they have so many running backs. It wouldn't surprise me if any of those guys were the running back 1. So I'm just not going to draft them. So after Evan Ingram, I'm not going to pay 8th or 9th round draft capital for them. So we're back up on the clock here. And to me, did they remove the thing? No, they didn't. Okay. So view by roster. This team doesn't have a quarterback, but they're all the way over here. Looking at the draft board, they could take a quarterback by the time we're back up again. So I think we're going to have to. Now, you know what? We're going to wait for Justin Fields. Say what you want about Justin Fields, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that this guy's an elite pocket passer. I'm not going to sit here and say Chicago's a bunch of idiots for passing up on Bustin Fields and going with Caleb Williams, right? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to really, I do think Pittsburgh should have re-signed him, right? I mean, I think that's blatantly obvious right now that Pittsburgh should have re-signed him, or the Saints should have signed him, but it is what it is. He's with the Jets, and look, the Jets this, the Jets that, the Jets stink. They kind of have a reek to them, right? You pick a Jet, and, part of your stomach drops. You're like, fuck, I drafted someone on the New York Jumbo Jets, right? But at the end of the day, just the rushing upside alone makes me interested in taking him. The upside is there. Again, is he the most wrap a condom around your team type of player? Of course not, dude. He is not safe at all. But the upside is there. And maybe that's the kind of guy you want to draft 2 quarterbacks with, right? You take Justin Fields, you're like, okay, let's go with a more safe Dickie Dak Prescott, right? To pair with him. And I think that's a very acceptable strategy, even though normally I'm someone that says, hey, just take 1 quarterback, worry about it later if they end up being an absolute disaster. Now, Deebo Samuel is up on the board here, and this is just another one of those guys that for years I've just been against. And for years, it's been paying off, right? If you have just been a Deebo Samuel hater for years like myself, if you said, you know what, that one big season without Christian McCaffrey, where he's the wide receiver 3, where he's running the ball all these times, that was Fugazi, it was a Wazi and a Woozy. He's going to disappoint you again. Now, the upside is there, right? When you're in the 9th round, it's like, okay, I'm more willing to take the shot on him right now than ever. But his path to being the wide receiver 1 to me is an injury to Terry McLaurin. Blatantly it is. And they have running backs, right? It's not like back when the 49ers really had no one. It was like, okay, give Deebo a million carries, right? They have Brian Robinson, the man who got shot 5,000 times and he's still breathing. They have running back pieces, so they don't need Deebo Samuel, who's getting older, to carry the ball a million times. Now, again, when you're talking about upside, Deebo has so much upside. Again, he is one of those guys where you could just play him any given week, duck and cover, and the man could drop 35. He could drop his nuts in the mouth of the defense. You just know that he can. You know that he can, right? How often is he going to realize that? Not a lot. But again, the 9th round, you're kind of just really looking for upside, right? You're not looking for the safest pick possible. Like Michael Pittman Jr., if Anthony Richardson figures it out, or if Daniel Jones figures it out, Michael Pittman Jr., in my opinion, is in a good situation to besides. He's not in a great situation to succeed because the quarterback situation sucks. But like the coach, in my opinion, is there for Michael Pittman Jr. to succeed. The offensive line is there for him to succeed. The targets are there for him to succeed. It's just, can the targets be good enough for him to succeed? He was dealing with a shit ton of injuries last year, if you guys remember. It seemed like for weeks they were going to shut him down. I don't know if you guys remember last year. I'd be like, okay, he's hurt, he's done. And then like 2 days later, like I'd say this on Tuesday, right? The wide receiver starts that video. I'd be like, it's Tuesday, guys. Michael Pittman's getting shut down. That's what it seems like. He probably won't play. He might miss the whole season. And then like 2 days later, they're like, okay, he's back. And then like a couple weeks later, you hear, okay, they're going to shut him down again. And then he's back. He was dealing with the back injury. That could be part of the downfall. Again, I'm just hunting for upside, and I'm fine taking Michael Pittman at this price. I just am. So we're back up on the clock here after MPJ, Jaden, Riley, Reed, Debo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Ricky Pearsall, Caleb Williams, Darnell. Here comes the Mooney. Jordan, the numbers Mason. What do they mean? Zach Charbonnet, Tajay Spears, David Njoku, the Chief, Matthew Golden, Rashad with 2 A's, White, Christian Kirk. You might just get hit with the Rico McMillan, Dowdle, Cam Scatabo, Rashid Shaheed, Austin Eckler, and Mark Andrews. So we're back up, and I'm just going to take my quarterback. I'm going to take Justin Fields. I get Herbert, Purdy are safer, but you don't win your fantasy league, in my opinion, taking the most safe players ever. We can just take Dak. You could even, if this was your home league, right, and you know there's a bunch of assholes in your league that want to double tap quarterback, right? Or they want to take 2 quarterbacks without fail. Doesn't matter if they drafted Josh Allen in the 2nd round. Doesn't matter if they took Jaden Daniels. Doesn't matter if they took Joe Burrow. They want 2 quarterbacks. So you could just take one here. I don't know if the computer will do that, but I think if you're trying to be realistic, that might be a good strategy for you. So this Cleveland backfield seems like to me it's going to be Judkins. I do think that Jerome Ford is a really, 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 really good handcuff, though. I think he should be the number 2 running back there and could end up being the starter. At this point, it's kind of just a minefield at running back because it's May, right? Is Ray Davis the running back 2? Is Isaac Guerrero the running back 2 in San Francisco? Is it Jalen Wright? Is it Ollie Gordon? How involved is Braylon Allen going to be? Is Marshawn Lloyd going to be good? Is Sean Tutton the running back 1 in Jacksonville? Like, people are blowing this guy's cock to be. We'll see. So the running back picks are always going to be much harder to make in May, which is why I really do advocate people, hey, if you want the most information, do your fantasy draft in June. Not in June. In late August, early September. That is the best time to do it with the most information possible. So right now, the information is, in an information game where you want more information, there's just not a lot of information. So to me, there's not like a big difference between any of these guys. So we're just going to get our backup quarterback, and we don't really have any stacks here. It's not like any of these guys we could stack up. So I think, I think we'll just wait and we'll just take Guerrero because I do think he'll be the number 2 running back on San Francisco behind Christian McCaffrey, and then just go with the quarterback in the next round because I think it's very unlikely that the guy that we will want will get taken. And again, with defense, a kicker, you want to just take those guys with your last 2 picks. So Guerrero, Ray Davis, Jalen McMillan, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Emeka Egbuka, Keenan Allen, who's not even on a team yet, Keon Coleman, Jack Besh, Tootin, Hunter Henry, Jerome Ford, DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Wright, Tucker Kraft, Dak Prescott, Dylan Sampson, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert, Denver Broncos defense. So we're going to go ahead and back up our quarterback. We're not going to take a backup tight end because, Justin Fields is inherently pretty risky. We'll go with Brock Purdy here. We'll go with Big Cock Brock. And then after that, it's going to be Roshan Johnson, Zach Ertz, Jadon Blue, who I was kind of looking for, and Romeo Dobbs. So since we already have 5 receivers, we might as well get a 5th running back here. And we're going to go with Marshawn Lloyd. Now, Marshawn Lloyd was a guy that I really liked last year as a handcuff. Now, I didn't say, hey, he's going to take over from Josh Jacobs, because I think that would be silly. I do think he's a good handcuff. I haven't really seen too much news about how healthy he is, so that's just something we're going to have to wait on. But he is a young running back with, I think, a decent amount of talent, talented enough to, hey, if something was to happen to Josh Jacobs, I think he would have a big season. So a bunch of backup running backs: Braylon Allen, Blake Corum, Jaleel McLaughlin, Colston Loveland, J.K. Dobbins, Audric Esname, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Drizzy Drake May, Jordan Love. Sorry, I'm like ducking. It's hard to see through the microphone. Dip, dive, duck, dodge. A bunch of defenses, and then Dalton Kincaid. If you want to go kicker and defense, we'll go kicker first because the best kicker is just available. And then for defense, you just want to pick a defense based upon who they're playing in week 1. Doesn't really matter much after that. Now, we don't have the NFL schedule, so that's, I guess, probably the biggest detractor of this video right now is we don't know who's playing who. So we'll just go with the Jets, but again, it would be more based upon who their week 1 matchup is, right? Like, I say this every year, I'm not just going to be like, oh, I need to draft the best defense because they're going to be great all year. I think it's very unlikely that you find a defense that is that elite in back-to-back seasons, especially in back-to-back seasons, that you're going to want to hold every single game. So to recap, our team is Justin Fields, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison, Evan Ingram, Cortland Sutton. Jets defense: Aubrey, Tony Pollard, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman, Isaac Guerrero, Brock Purdy, Marshall Lloyd. Some people say, Nick, this team's too risky for me. And honestly, I get that. I think the team probably would have looked better if, let's just be honest, if instead of, like, we took Saquon, right? That's fine. And then the second round, maybe we took Garrett Wilson. Maybe we would like our team slightly better instead of Bucky, and then maybe went running back in the third round. But you really never know how the draft is going to fall. And again, this is our first draft of the season, right? You're not stuck with this team. It's May, right? We've got a lot more videos to make, a lot more time to discuss these things, and a lot more information to come out. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. I don't expect this video to do fucking crazy numbers. I know it's early in May, but with the schedule coming out soon, I think people are going to be excited, and I'm very excited to make these videos. I love you guys so much, genuinely. It means the world to me that there's people that actually watch my videos that have as many subscribers as I have. So thank you guys for everything. I love you guys so much. Hope you have a great one. Shout out to Wayne Gretzky, and as always, good boy.